Hello from the News Hub here at Adesawe in Kanda, Accra. This is News at 10 with me, Stephen Enti. We're live on TV3 and live on 3FM 92.7. Let's start with the major news highlights of the day. Government is to construct 1,000 metric ton capacity warehouses across the country to store food in each of the 216 metropolitan, municipal and districts across the country. President Akufo-Addo made this known at the launch of the Planting for Food and Jobs program at Goso in the Buno-Ahafo region. 222 salaries of public sector workers have been suspended for having double social security SSNIT numbers. Head of payroll at the Controller and Accountants General's Department, George Barr, who spoke to our reporter Daniel Opoku, said investigations will be conducted and culprits sanctioned. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, says security will be beefed up in all Galamsey areas to ensure positive results are achieved. Meanwhile, over 500 excavators used in illegal mining operations have been retrieved across the country in response to a 3-week ultimatum given to operators to halt their activities. The World Bank has indicated that sub-Saharan Africa is showing signs of recovery and projects growth to reach 2.6% in 2017 following years of decline. However, the recovery remains weak, with growth expected to rise only slightly above population growth, a pace that hampers efforts to boost employment and reduce poverty. Those were our major news highlights. Up next is a big one. Right, welcome back. Government is to construct 1,000 metric ton capacity warehouses across the country to store food in each of the 2016 metropolitan, municipal and districts across the country. President Akufo-Addo made this known at the launch of the Planting for Food and Jobs program at Goso in the Buno-Ahafo region.
The president received a rousing welcome at the Goso Community Park, where hundreds of people had converged to witness the launch of the Planting for Food and Jobs program. President Akufo will ensure that the agricultural sector becomes a catalyst for job creation.
Government's vision is to modernize agriculture, improve production efficiency, achieve food security and profitability for our farmers, all aimed at significantly increasing agricultural productivity. We intend to pursue a value addition strategy aimed at rapidly ramping up agro-processing and developing new and stable markets for our products.
He noted the introduction of the flagship agricultural program was inspired by the youth calling for jobs during the electioneering campaign. The Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Kweku Owusu-Afriyie, said this year the program will focus on a selected target group of up to 200,000 farmers in all the 216 districts of the country.
The implementation is anchored on 5 pillars: the provision of improved seeds, supply of fertilizers, provision of dedicated extension services, marketing arrangement to ensure zero post-harvest losses, an electronic platform to capture and monitor the activities of the participating farmers.
The paramount chief of Goso traditional area, Nana Kwesi Bosom Pra, lauded the program and advised Ghanaians to support its implementation.
Deputy Minister for Agric, Honorable William Ejapong Kwetu, is joining us on the telephone lines now. They're still in the Brown Harbour region. Good evening, sir. We're grateful that you could join us. So this 1,000 metric ton capacity warehouses in all 2016 districts, how soon will that be ready?
Once this statement came from the president, it means that, as it is said, if a blind man says that I'll throw a stone at you, it means that, of course, the blind man's leg is stepping on a stone. So I believe very soon.
Very soon.
This has not even been part of our manifesto. It has not been part of our planning activities. But then when we announced this program, and we started soliciting for funds and support from various international communities, we were overwhelmed with the support promises that we are getting from various development partners. And it is one of these partners that is going to give us the money to do this. So I'm sure that the president is very much aware and assured of the money that is going to come. In the last days, when we were sworn in, basically let me say that I am not particularly part of that. I'm not in charge of that program. Dr. Sagri, the second deputy minister, is in charge of this program. So I have not been so much involved in their detailed meetings and facts of this program. I know the general idea about this particular program.
That's fair. So we will stick to the generalities.
Start this, the construction of the 1,000 ton capacity distance, and when the money is going to come, and particularly where it is going to come. In fact, I'm not privy to that. But
That's
I believe in Nana so much that if he doesn't have the assurance that it is going to occur, that is what he advises us all. Don't go stand anywhere and say something that you cannot do. Never make any promise that you think that you don't have the capacity to do. And so I know that once it has come from him, then I believe and trust the president that.
Right, Honorable, we will stick to the generalities since you don't have specifics to share with us. But so let's still stay with the generalities. I know that one of the major challenges for farming in this country is transportation to and from marketing centers. So if we construct these food storage warehouses, we would have to deal with the challenge of transportation. Do you know what plans there are to deal with challenges of transporting food from wherever they are, from farms or from storage centers to these warehouses?
Yeah, the challenges are mainly due to the road network and not mainly to vehicles. I know you know in Ghana, the private sector has enough vehicles to traverse the roads of this country and to transport any load that you can find anywhere. The challenge has mainly been due to the road network to go to the hinterlands to bring the food to the various marketing centers. And so in our manifesto, I remember clearly that when we were trying to capture construction of, we call it farm roads, construction of farm roads in our sector, that is the agri-ministry sector. In the long run, when we met and were coordinating all these manifestos, that aspect that we put in our manifesto, that is the agri-sector manifesto, was taken from us and given directly to the Ministry of Roads. And so whatever we wrote was picked and sent straight to the Ministry of Roads, that should be their assignment. And so if you look at the road sector ministry's manifesto, it is clearly there. To construct a number of roads, a certain given kilometers of road, a certain a kilometer of which is purely called rural roads, or we can call it farm track roads. Farm track roads. And so if this is really giving the needed boost, it means that most of the roads that lead to farming communities will be constructed. And once they get to the various communities where you have this ordinary transport, private transport working there, then it means that the food can get to the marketing centers or the urban centers that is so much needed.
Right.
So basically, that's what I'm going to tell you. Transportation may not directly be a problem once the farm tracks are constructed. And this year, I guess that if I've not forgotten, almost about 30-35% of roads that are to be constructed are supposed to be farm track roads.
Right. Mr. Quaito, I know that the MPP has made some very, very ambitious promises and programs. I know that the government still has on its drawing board one district, one factory. Now we're getting 1,000-ton capacity warehouses in all districts and municipal assemblies. This is very ambitious. Is this replacing the one district, one factory, or is complementing it? What exactly is the linkage between these warehouses and the factories that your government is planning to construct in all districts?
It is completely different from the one factory, one district. One district, one factory. Completely different. These are warehouses that we are going to build in each district. In a district, I don't see it, like you see, I said initially that I'm not so much involved in that program, but I don't see us building one whole 1,000 capacity warehouse.
Yeah, Honorable, I need you to know. I just a minute. I understand the difference, the clear difference between the districts, factories, and the warehouses. But the point I'm trying to establish is whether in building these warehouses, there is going to be some form of linkages with Agric and the factories that are supposed to be constructed in these districts.
Exactly. These factories are going to be, to me, mostly agri-based.
Okay.
And so, if we are going to build factories, they need a warehouse to hold the raw material, which is agriculture inclined. And these warehouses that are going to hold this produce, of course, in the lanes, the produce can also be sold to the consuming market. So it's going to be a dual purpose.
Right.
To hold raw material for the factories as well as also to hold food that can be preserved and sold when the need arises.
Right. Honorable Quaito, we're grateful for
it is during the programming of this, during the programming and thinking through of this program that I think it came up that no, the warehouses that we have in the country are not enough. Many companies have money, they have the resources to buy the food when there's bumper harvest and then to store. But the problem has mainly or basically been where and how to store it. And that is why the government is coming in to provide the needed infrastructure. And these will be mainly rented out to private enterprises.
Honorable William Agyapong Quaito, we're grateful for your time. Thank you very much for joining us. William Agyapong Quaito is the Deputy Agricultural Minister joining us from Brunafo region, where the President and his entourage have been launching the Planting for Food and Jobs program. I'm Stephen Enti, and remember, you're live on 3FM 92.7 as well, and we're streaming live on our Facebook page. There are more news for you. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, says security will be beefed up in all Galamsey areas to ensure positive results are achieved. Over 500 excavators used for illegal mining have been retrieved across the country. This is in response to a 3-week ultimatum given to operators to halt their activities.
The team made whistle stops in several communities, including Akaten, Kobreso in the Upper West Achim, Penaman in the Denchambua district, and Mosiaso in the Tiwa district. Operators were not on site and the excavators were parked. Some operators had also reclaimed land they had worked on. It was evident that illegal activity is impacting negatively on the environment.
If you visit our area, you will see how polluted the water is. It is so pathetic and disturbing.
20 excavators were withdrawn from Achim Oda, 120 from Asankwegwa, 20 from Asenfosu, and again 120 from Bibiani. 200 were also picked from Dunkwao, 25 from Konongo, and 40 from Takwa. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, pointed out Security will be beefed up in all the Galamsey areas to ensure positive results are achieved.
Some of the chiefs, not all of them who have connived in this exercise. There are some of them that are actually fighting. I know some chiefs who report all the time about illegalities.
The withdrawal of these machines, they are not surrendering it to us. But the good thing is that they have actually realized the importance of the directive. We need to sustain this as human and as Ghanaians, as we all believe. Their thinking might be, in the next 3-4 weeks, we'll go back to the site. And that is why education is very important.
Right, let's have a chat. Emmanuel Entry is the Deputy Director of Operations of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. Is here in the studio with me. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for coming. I know that your association, I want to ask you how you're taking this whole initiative by government to clamp down on small-scale mining, illegal small-scale mining.
Yes, thank you. I would want to correct some impression. The association is in support of the government's initiative.
Okay.
And with these 500 excavators, our monitoring task force actually went round. If you could recall, we did a press conference about 2 weeks ago at the Cultural Center, Kumasi. And then we told members to invite Galamsey leaders and some of the operators to come for the press conference. So that is where we started the engagement. And then we told them that, look, what is happening across the country is good for the country. And therefore, it is very important that we all come on board. We actually made sure that they bought into the idea that it is not proper to do illegal mining or Galamsey, but rather we should wait for what the minister is saying, the holistic plan, where they would explore areas and then determine the amount of.
Do you know the plan? I mean, what I need to get from you is whether you know government's plan and whether government is working with you towards implementing a specific plan.
Yes, the first meeting that we had, we were part of that meeting. And then subsequently, we don't know the details of the plan, but we know that the plan, the summary of the plan is, first, they will look at areas where we can explore and have high mineralization. And then 2, they will license members to go in there, Galamsey operators, to go in there and then work in environmental care manner. And then the 3rd one, those who are not lucky enough to get places will be given alternative livelihood. And this is a very...
What forms of alternative livelihoods? Somebody who has depended on gold for half of his life, you want to say alternative, like go and farm cassava or plantain? That's going to be a low blow for many of your members, and I suspect that this is what's going to lead to resistance from your members. You don't think so?
Well, with our members, we are not part of this ban. Our members are legal small-scale miners who are operating legally.
So your members are not afraid of losing their lives?
No, we are not part of this particular ban. Okay. It is the Galamsey operators. And then, yes, I do realize, or we know, that, somebody who has depended on gold, to be difficult to give an alternative livelihood. But it's all about education and sensitization. I said that we've made sure that majority of them have bought into the idea that, hey, look, what are we losing as a nation when you're doing Galamsey and then it's not regulated? So it's more or less like the person has bought into the idea. Now the person is making the idea his own. But look, if I'm doing this and the government want to make sure that I rather do it in a more sustainable manner.
You sound very confident of what you're saying. Is that the situation on the ground among your members, or this is just what you're hoping will exist?
Well, with our interactions with
that's the feedback you're getting.
That's the feedback we are getting.
Okay.
The dredges on the river bodies that our task force went around chasing them off, and then the excavators that those who brought from the forest and other illegal mining areas. In fact, it's a whole lot of method that we are using where we just want them to buy into the idea that, look, this thing is not helping anybody. This thing has potential danger, because most of the Galamsey operators are residents of the communities. And so it is very important that they get to know the aftermath effects of what they are doing, and that if the government is determined enough to make sure that we explore areas where mineralization is high and then license groups and individuals to go in there and mine. I think it's a very wonderful idea, and they welcome it. But then my caution here is that we should move fast as a nation, because the number of people who have moved from the Galamsey site is overwhelming, and if we are not careful, it might create other socio-economic problems
like armed robbery,
like
social violence,
exactly,
a lot of them drugs.
Exactly. This is not scientific, but if we recall, I stand to be corrected though, but for some time now, it looks like the spate of armed robbery has gone down. I don't know, but it looks like that, and I strongly believe that this is linked with the boom that happened at Bandam Kwanta, where a lot of illegal operators moved there, and I mean, between that period and now, and then looking at the incidents of armed robbery, it has actually gone down.
What are you suggesting? Because government is working with your group, your association of legal small-scale miners to flush out illegal illegal operators, Galamsey operators. Now, the replay you felt you're telling me about is scary, and what would you suggest government do to ensure that, one, the fight against Galamsey still continues, the alternative livelihoods for these people who are kicked out from their income also persist? What suggestions do you have?
Yes, I mean, most of the discussion will be having it on that level with the ministry. However, what we suggest to the ministry is to move very fast, because these are people's livelihood. This is what they depend on. And so they should move very fast. Areas that they know of the values, quickly they should do whatever that can be done, and quickly we start facing off the people. And then we should also continue identifying these illegal miners, making sure where they are located and all that is very important and key. And then also engaging them consistently through education and sensitization, and then what the minister is doing or the ministry is doing, so that at the end of the day, they are all part of the change movement. Once we do it this way, I believe that every sensible Ghanaian who is involved in illegal mining can just be part of the movement,
the negative
and then we minimize the negative effects.
Mr. Yirenchi Entry, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is still News at 10. We're live on TV3 and also live on 3FM 92.7, as well as our affiliates across the country. Away from that, the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, has called for substantial investment in the earlier stages of children's education. She was speaking at the opening of this year's World Organization for Early Childhood Education and Care Conference in Accra.
The objective of the World Organization for Early Childhood Education and Care is to gather people who work with or for young children, do research on the subject of early childhood. It provides a meeting grounds for representatives of different professions and different national groups from all over the world. This year, the OMEP Regional Conference will focus on the Sustainable Development Goals 4 and 7. OMEP World President Dr. Park advocated for teachers to be given opportunities to build their capacity. The First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, emphasized the need to make substantial investment in education.
We need to invest in the earlier stages of education. We need to invest in quality infrastructure. Teachers should be equipped with tools that help them and their pupils acquire knowledge. Learning and play should be safe for our kids.
She acknowledged the role of the public sector in quality education delivery.
The public sector cannot provide all this alone. Technical expertise, knowledge, resources, and support is needed from the private sector and global development partners as we work towards new goals and solutions.
The OMEP conference is expected to end on April 21.
And the medical doctor who examined the victim of the alleged pepper attack by the branch manager of Mawako restaurant, Matilda Madiwa Ada, told the court the victim suffered from an inflammation of the wide part of her eyes. She confirmed to the court the victim reported at the Achimota Hospital traumatized.
According to the medical report, the victim's eyes were dried and was advised to wear sunglasses until her condition normalized. During cross-examination by the lead counsel for the accused, Julio de Medeiros, Dr. Ada confirmed the condition suffered by the victim could have been caused by pepper, but it is not only limited to it. She added that the eye infection suffered by the victim could not have been caused by a mere rubbing of the eye. She said an external element would have had to make contact with the eye before one could suffer such an inflammation. Meanwhile, lawyers of the accused, Jihad Chaban, after the cross-examination, indicated they will file a submission of no case. Jihad Chaban is alleged to have dipped Evelyn Boache, a caterer at the restaurant's face, into blended pepper and locked up for hours. He had pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of assault, offensive conduct and causing harm. The defense lawyers will on April 26, the adjourned date, make an oral submission of their submission of no case application.
And that's it for News at 10. We came to you live from the News Hub. And thanks for those of you who listen to us on 3FM 92.7. I'm Stephen Enti.